late. I apologize. Went shopping, took longer than expected, and just got back. So, grocery shopping. So, that's always good, right? Today's reading, which kind of disappeared from my system for a while, and it just logged me out. I'll just have to be a little patient here. So here we go. It's going to take a few seconds. Daily guys, November 10. Here we are. Today, Reverend Jim has called this abundance in family relationships. The first quote is from Ram Dass, who, in case you don't know, was a famous spiritual teacher of the 20th and into the 21st century. And this is a really cool, excuse me. Excuse me. I just had to blow my nose. Anyways, this is from Ram Dass, and it's a really cool statement. I've heard it before a bunch of times, but I always kind of like it. He says, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. If you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. I can tell you, my mother is long gone. She was a really nice lady, but spending time alone with her was not my favorite thing to do. And Ram Dass is right. If I spent 3 days at home with my mother when I became an adult, that was about the maximum. I had to find some excuse to go somewhere else. And but that's just the way it is. As I said, she was a real nice lady, but it's just, I guess our personalities clashed. Anyway, there we are. Ernest Holmes, of course, has always got more to say on the matter. He says, just accept then that no matter what your experience may have been until now, the truth about you is that while you were born of human parentage, the real you that came through this human parentage is an original, creative, wonderful being. You are God's, the divine's beloved child. This isn't a myth. This is real. And that was in Help for Today on page 143. Not directly connected with families, but kind of in general. And this is Reverend Jim again. He says, a family's goal is to raise children who are self-sufficient, who realize their potential for making their way in the world. When these goals are met, children get a head start in developing into adults who realize who and what they are. When these goals are not met, such development may be hampered and create obstacles they must overcome. Abundance in family relationships is no different than in other aspects of life. It means there is a sufficiency of support and love, enough to share and to spare. Striking a balance between wanting to protect children at all costs and helping them grow as individuals with healthy self-concepts is the great challenge for all parents and caregivers. If the primary family relationship is toxic and those involved cannot alter the dynamic, then they may need to leave. When this occurs, they must find a support system to help process the effects of the toxic environment. There's no shame in leaving a toxic relationship, nor is there shame in seeking help to manage the aftermath. In all cases, we ought to be as compassionate as possible when dealing with family relationships, keeping in mind that compassion means to be radically honest about the nature of things. In all things, be grateful for what you have been given and for what you have escaped. It's a pretty weighty topic, and to try and kind of summarize it into one reading is obviously way impossible. So let me tell you what I get out of this. I didn't grow up with siblings. I didn't grow up with a father. My father was ill for several years and he died when I was 4 years old. So my mother never got married again. She had lots of suitors, but she never got married again. So I don't really have a major intimate family dynamic, just my mother and me, which probably explains why in later life it was hard for us to get on together. But my nearest relatives were like half cousins and aunts and uncles and half aunts and half uncles. We had a fairly big family, but it was not an immediate intimate family. So I really can't relate to this a lot. My relationship with my mother wasn't toxic. It was just kind of difficult, but it wasn't toxic. And I was taught by nuns and then priests. So I got a really good grounding in who I was. Sometimes it was done the hard way. So I don't really have a lot of experience to comment on what they're saying here but it really goes beyond the family. It goes into any relationship, way beyond that. And when he talks about getting out of toxic relationships, I think it's easier said than done. And I think you need professional help to do it. Where I was going with that is the fact that I do a lot of mediations, and most of the things that I mediate are couples who've had major relationship issues. A lot of them are married, so the subject at hand is getting divorced, but it's also the prime concern in mediation and with the courts is to make sure the children are okay. A lot of the couples have never been married. They might have had multiple partners. God knows what those relationships are like. Some of them are pretty good, but they just couldn't get out and they left. And it's right across the spectrum. So I do see the results of toxic relationships. And I also know that it's really hard for mainly women, sometimes men, but mainly women who are in a toxic relationship to get out of it, because the spouse who's being left can be a dangerous situation. So they really need help. They need to go into some kind of protective care. So I do see a lot of the results of this on the other end. So all I got to say is that the affirmations, I think today, are really supportive. Yeah, there's 3 of them, and one of them is a bit long. Actually, there's 4. No, there's 3, and they're all a bit long actually. But I think they're on the point when he says, "I'm grateful to my family and who always supported me in my upbringing." It doesn't apply to everybody, and if it doesn't apply to you at all, and don't even think about using it. As an adult, I take full responsibility for my own growth and development. So whatever's happened in the past, what he's saying there is that you have the opportunity now to actually start afresh if you have to do. And there's plenty of help out there within Creative Life, within Centers for Spiritual Living, and within lots of different organizations, professional organizations who can help. I forgive everything and set healthy boundaries. That is easier said than done, and it takes a lot of practice. And always remember this: forgiveness does not mean accepting horrible stuff that went on, or even not quite so horrible stuff. It doesn't mean that. It means that you forgive the person. You don't forgive what went on. We don't condone what went on. You let it go. Forgive and forget is easier said than done. And it takes a lifetime of practice, I think, sometimes to do that. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this. I think it's a difficult subject. And all I can say once again is, like Reverend Jesse is often repeating, if you do your spiritual work, then you'll have that solid foundation and you can more easily handle it. And Reverend Lisa in her closing spoke briefly about community. And this is where community comes in. Different kinds of communities, not just at our spiritual center or a church or a mosque or a temple or a synagogue, but in general, community is incredibly important. And this is where, when you have been in a situation like this, that you got a community that will support you. So those are my final words. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully at 5 o'clock. I don't see anything on the horizon, but you never know. But I will be back tomorrow at some stage. And a quick reminder, on Wednesday, we have our soul session. It's at 7 o'clock Central Time, and it's a really good one. It's a minister and a practitioner who've both been involved with the Centers for Spiritual Living in the Caribbean. And that applies to Cuba and all the way across. So Puerto Rico, all the way. So look out for that. It's on our Facebook page. You can check it out there. If you get our weekly email, it's in there. So you need more help, no more answers about it, text me, email me, my Reverend Jesse. So with that, I'm going to say adieu.